You know the song that says it's 5 o'clock somewhere? Well, it's 5 o'clock here, Pittsburgh time, and it is time once again for another hangover. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis from BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Alongside me, as always, is my great friend, Shannon White, and my other great friend, Tony Defeo. We are your terrible trio. Man, or is it the tequila trio? Because, man, it's a happy hangover because the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 2 in a row. And don't look now, but not only do we have a tankers rooting guide to see how high a draft pick the Steelers get, now we've got a playoff rooting guide to see, okay, what is the possibility? We know that it's like, it's not that much of a possibility, but just like in Dumb and Dumber. So you say there's a chance? So you always think about those things. Shannon White, how are you this evening, my friend?
I'm doing great on another Victory Monday.
Victory Monday.
Victory Monday. And in the words, Matthew McConaughey's catchphrase, all right. Because Mr. Matthew Wright made all 4 field goals, and they were big. So my wife says, you got to say it. I said, all right.
I love that, Tony. Matthew, all right. There it is. He's got a nickname. And I tell you what, I can get that going throughout BTSC. It might be our thing. Tony, what golden gems do you have for us?
I'm just happy that they finally talked about a 2-game winning streak. I wish I would have come up with Shannon's catchphrase, and I just read an article about the guy a few hours ago, and it didn't even occur to me. Well, that's why Shannon's the best. So, but I'm feeling pretty good.
Matthew, all right. I love it. By the way, Dazed and Confused is, I believe, one of his very first movies, and a fantastic movie. So I absolutely love it.
That was his first line ever on film.
That is great. It's he's just this like 22-year-old guy with just like this scurvy dude in this 1976. It's great. So hey, let's get into it. You know the hangover. You know the deal here. This is kind of for you to do the old simmer down now, and you have 24 hours to think about the ball game and to think about how you're feeling and to think about how you fan. And that's kind of what we're going to do. There's no preaching here, but there's some good things to think about here. And I'm going to start off with you guys first. And I'm going to say, how are you feeling as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan right now? You can be pessimistic still. I don't care. You can feel like they're wasting an opportunity for a high pick. Fan the way you want to fan. I don't care. You can feel like this team going to the playoffs. That is great. That is your right as a fan to be that optimistic. Tony, I'm going to start with you. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm enjoying the heck out of the progress that we've seen since the bye. 3 out of 4, and the offense, I don't want to say it keeps getting better and better every week, but it's found a way to be efficient. And and it all starts with the running game. It's 5 straight games now of 100 yards or more, and especially impressive since the bye. And I never thought I'd see that again, a consistent running game. And it seems like the offense is just this close to popping, to really breaking through. And every game you see little moments where if this happens or that happens, they might have a touchdown instead of a field goal. So it's encouraging. It looks like the offense has a flow, has a plan, has a rhythm, and it's something we really didn't see through the first 8 games. So I'm feeling pretty good about what they're doing and how they're progressing as an offense, but as a team overall over these past 4 games.
Shannon, let's take your temperature.
Man, I am basking in the afterglow of positivity.
Oh my God.
I have been praying.
Preach it.
For years now for a consistent running attack and an offensive line capable of, generating, push on the ball and and creating lanes and consistently churning out, 3rd and short, where you can sustain drives and convert on them 3rd and 4th and 1s. The Steelers are doing all that. And it all started with they refocused that offensive attack around the bye week, and now you're seeing long sustained drives, 14, 16, 18 play drives. The time of possession has swung big time in their favor. I understand that the opposition hasn't been as strenuous, obviously, but they still went up against some good defenses, and they still have to execute, and they're doing both much better. And that's encouraging. That is the first steps of a foundation that's something that can become habitual moving forward. So I'm just really enjoying it. The wins are just icing on the cake.
All right, so Tony talked about the positivity, and Shannon's talking about the positivity and feeling good. And hey, look, we know that this is still not a great team. And we know the potential for, if this team somehow sneaks in the playoff, there's a potential for a true hangover show where we're just like, well, here we go again. That was ugly. That's a possibility. And we know that. But something Shannon's been asking for all the time has been just growth. Every single week, he's been asking for that from his quarterback, and that's what we're getting. You're seeing some growth. You're seeing an identity. Look, and Jeff and Dave brought this up on the preview yesterday. They're like, we were talking before the draft. It doesn't matter who they get at quarterback. That guy's going to get murdered. And you kind of felt that was going to happen. I don't know what the sack numbers are on Steeler quarterbacks, but it's not that bad. And this, even 4 weeks ago, I was talking about how bad this offensive line still was. And then I turned it into, okay, the left side of the offensive line is what's terrible. Now I'm saying, man, they've been playing together as a unit, all five, and they've really gelled as a unit. Am I going to give this offensive line an A? No. Am I going to give them a C plus to a B minus? Yeah, I think I would. With the arrow pointing up. I really like what I'm seeing here. Now, Tony mentioned the running game. And first of all, if we're going to give out nicknames, I'm going to give an interesting nickname to one Naji Harris. It's not Jerome. It's Mazay. And it's this. I'm going to call him, from American Pie, I'm going to just call him Stifler. Because, my gosh, this guy does the stiff arm like nobody else. He did it against the Raiders last year. He did it this year. And the thing with Naji is, the reason I'm calling him Stifler is because he's kind of the bad guy at first. And I'm talking about the 2022 season. Kind of the bad guy. And then he turns into kind of the hero, kind of the guy that everybody loves. And we loved him in 2021. We loved what we had. But if you go back just about 35 days and you go to us talking here on Halloween on October 31st, we're talking about how brutal it was against Philadelphia. And what did we say about Naji? Man, it's a Don Henley song. All he wants to do is dance.
Mm-hmm.
I see no dancing going on, gentlemen. Let's talk about that. Shannon?
Oh, there was a lot of talk about the injury, which I'm sure was some factor in his slow start, but it was the mentality. And, again, the dancing and the jump cuts and the stuff that a little back does. He's a large man. He needs to run more like Derrick Henry. We're starting to see that now. He builds up a head of steam. He had a couple of chances yesterday for some big runs, and he stumbled because he tried to slide step, and on that turf fair in Atlanta, and he kind of stumbled. But you're seeing him more north and south, and because of that, his numbers and his productivity is going up. It helps that offensive line, who continues to improve. But part of their improvement is because the running backs are actually hitting the holes when they're there. Jaylen Warren is averaging over 4 yards a carry. Benny Snell, for the first time in his career, is averaging over 4 yards a carry. And looking just like he can really contribute as that short yardage specialist. Keep some of that pounding off of Harris. You know, they're
Mhm.
actually using a 3-headed monster rotation right now, and that's beautiful. And I love the Stifler reference, but I figured it was because of that stiff arm where he literally embedded that guy into the turf yesterday, which was a very harsh and violent play by Harrison. We all loved it. But I thought that's why he was calling him Stifler. And
That's really why.
And I also wanted to know, did Tony know Naji's mom then? You know, because, you know, Stifler's mom is pretty, you know, important in that whole story.
Yeah, and Brian Brown mentioned Stifler. Thought he was the quarterback of the Jets. That's funny. That was Finch. It's Finch.
I love it.
Who went out? Who had a moment with Stifler's mom. You know, as I digress real quick, my daughter was away, stayed with my sister over Thanksgiving. So that night we were going to watch a movie, and my daughter wants to watch all the Christmas stuff. So I said to my son, I tell you what, I'm going to let him watch American Pie. He's 15. You know, I figured I'd let him watch American Pie, and I just stared at him while he watched because he was laughing like crazy. Now I think it's in his top 5, and he's watched it a few times since. And so I've been thinking about Stifler and all of that, but no, it was basically for the stiff arm is why I brought that up. But then I decided to try to dig deep and justify, like I spent hours, and I just thought about it like 4 minutes ago. So, but anyway, sometimes you can bluff people, like you prepare more than you actually did. Yeah, so Mike C says, like, Naji's not there yet. Has no balance. He tripped, even no one around. Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen with some guys, and I get that. But Tony, what is your comfort level with Shannon mentioning the offensive line has improved? What is your thought? Are you comfortable with Naji Harris?
I mean, of course. I mean, we saw what he did last year when he had no running room. He 1,200 yards. Now they're starting to open holes, not just like Shannon said, not just for Naji, but for everybody. Everybody is starting to look good behind this line. And I'm starting to get to the point now where I'm expecting the Steelers to be able to run the ball, which I couldn't say that for the first 8 games. I didn't expect them to be able to run the ball at all. I had no confidence in the ground game. Now I'm starting to have a lot of confidence in it. It's amazing what a few weeks can do for that. And I'm very comfortable with Naji Harris. And I think, you know, James Lofton was talking about the Falcons rookie running back, how he looks like he's on a track every time he gets the ball. That's how these Steelers running backs are starting to look. They're taking the handoff and they're going right where they're picking a lane and they're hitting it. They're hitting the hole. And we didn't see that for the longest time. And it's you know, like you see what Harris can do when he gets to the second level. I mean, he's so hard to bring down. He's such a hard-nosed runner. And it's something that I wasn't even that aware of coming into the league, that he was that hard-nosed of a runner. He is a beast. And I think if he can get behind a line that is successful at opening holes on a regular basis, you're going to see that this guy can be like maybe not same level of a Derrick Henry or a B mode, but somebody who's a similar kind of runner and somebody who can really terrorize defensive backs and linebackers. So I'm very comfortable with Naji Harris, and you know, for him to accomplish the things he's accomplished so far behind a line that's been struggling to gel, you know, the sky's the limit whenever they figure some things out. And as far as the 3-headed monster, you know, I think Jerome Bettis proved that you can be a Hall of Fame running back and still have really decent complementary pieces as your backups. So you don't have to. Maybe it's a lesson for Mike Tomlin to learn that you don't have to run them to the wheels fall off. You can still have a productive and a Pro Bowl running back and still give them maybe 80% of the carries that you normally would, or 20%, whatever the math I'm trying to figure out. So I'm very comfortable with Naji Harris.
All right, Shannon, before I get to you on this, Evgeny Crosby gives us $1.99. Thank you so much, EC. A long time a supporter of the program here. We appreciate you at BTSC. The Pickett Fence, the name for the offensive line. I like that. I think that's fantastic. So we've got the Pickett Fence now. I think we can adopt that. We've got Stifler. We've got I don't think Stifler's gonna work. Nobody's gonna go with Stifler on this, but I think some of our nicknames are. And what was the first one, guys? I mean,
Matthew. All right.
all right. All right. And you're doing I can't even do the hand motions. There we go. That's awesome. Shannon, does Naji Harris? He's 339 yards away from 1,000. Does that matter?
I think it does, because it means that if he hits that number with the remaining games, it means that he stayed consistent over the second half of the season. And, that the linemen take a lot of pride in that. They take a pride in all the offensive success, and they have received more than their fair share of blame, and deservedly so, for the offensive struggles in recent seasons. So if he hits that 1,000 yards, that means that they've finished out the year strong. Which is going to bode well for 2023. And that's something for those guys to hang their hat on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, I'm looking at the live chat here and lots of great comments. I appreciate all of them. Not everybody's sold on Naji Harris, but if we go back to October 31st, I think everybody was ready to give up completely on Naji Harris. And now you think now you feel like it's good. Thaddeus mentions this: 1,000 yards in a 17-game season isn't a major accomplishment anymore. And well, I get that too, but it's still it's kind of still the benchmark for receivers and running backs, especially with a 17-game season. I've noticed something that's one of the reasons you do have a lot more parity, because that extra game means there's going to be a lot of extra injuries. So I still would consider 1,000 not that bad of a thing. So let's go ahead and continue. But the reason I'm bringing up the fact that some people are loving Naji right now, some people aren't. And it's your fandom. And it's looking at the men of steel in the mirror. Look, I want the fans to look in the mirror and say, what kind of fan are you? And own it. Like, what do you expect out of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the rest of the season? It started out crappy. I want to know who the Steelers think they are when they look in the mirror. So, gentlemen, I'm not going to sing, I promise, but I'm going to vow to you this. I'm going to make a promise to everybody in the live chat. I'm going to make it to Tony. I'm going to make it to Shannon White. I'm going to make it to everybody here. I'm going to make a change for once in my life. It's going to feel real good. I think it's going to make a difference. It's going to make it right. As I turn up the color in my favorite winter coat, the wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and one man's soul. They follow each other on the wind, because they got nowhere to go. That's why Shannon, Tony, live chat, I want you to know. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. Here's the deal. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Na-na-na, na-na-na, na-na-na-na-na. So, gentlemen, when I go ahead and play that and I recite that passage there, the reason I'm bringing that out, it's trying to figure out who we are as fans and what we want out of the rest of the season. Because, man, I would have loved that Anderson kid. And I'm ruining it. Danny, I didn't even sing it. My gosh, if I sang it, I would have ruined it. So, and I think it is a great song.
I wrote that all down. That could be a hit. I wrote that down. I have it for you in case you didn't write it down bad.
Oh yeah. So yeah, maybe that could be a hit. I don't know. I could be a songwriter. So no, but what I'm saying is this started out crappy. And now we're trying to figure out what we want of the Steelers. But if the Steelers are looking in the mirror, fellas and ladies, what are they seeing? Who are they trying to be? They're trying to make that change. What change are they trying to make? So, Shannon, I'm going to start with you first.
I believe the Steelers, the players themselves and the coaches, all believe that they were a playoff team. I believe that they fully expected to be a playoff team. They didn't buy into the rebuild scenario that I have felt all along. That's why they started Mitch Trubisky. That's why they wanted that veteran. But nobody could foreseen TJ Watt's injury. And again, GB or Jeffrey Benedict, my podcast partner, he was talking about it. The Steelers' record is this season 4-1 with TJ. And then we know that they won one game without him. So he is so important, even though he's not even probably 80% right now. He's not playing like the Superman that we're used to. His mere presence requires double teams. The focus is towards him, and it frees up everybody else on the defense. He elevates their play. So, I believe that the Steelers want to show that they want to confirm that they are the team they thought they were to start the season by finishing the season strong. They're not worrying about draft positioning or anything like that. They're worrying about developing and improving, confirming that whether or not Kenny Pickett is the answer, so that they have all these answers and have a clear view of the questions heading into the offseason. So I fully expect the progress we're seeing to be sustainable and to continue through the rest of this season.
Tony, how do you follow that up?
I think they feel like that they are what they always think they are, and that's a contender. Even though it might have seemed far-fetched a month ago, I think they came into the season expecting to contend, and then TJ Watt got hurt, like Shannon said, and they fell to 2-6, and things look pretty bleak. But now that they've righted the ship a little bit and are 5-7 and kind of in the hunt, not really quite yet, but they're getting there. 11th place, I think now in the AFC, or 12th, something like that. I think they feel like they are where they usually are at this time of year, and that's on the cusp of contending for a playoff spot. And I think now that they've figured some things out on offense and they've found a bit of an identity as far as being able to run the ball and have Kenny Pickett manage the game and make some key throws here and there, I think they feel like they can sneak back into the race, at least for a wild card spot. That's what I think they are. Whether they really are that or not, I don't know. I have my reservations about that, but I do think they feel like they are a contender, or at least not a contender, but getting there.
Absolutely. So, there's some things to go ahead and look at here. Here's one guy. When he looks in the Men of Steel mirror, what does he see? And I'm really confused with this one Steeler offensive player. Who does Deontay Johnson feel he is when he looks in the mirror? Shannon?
Boy, everybody knows feelings on Deontay. Yesterday was just another example. This season, Deontay signed the new contract, and the Steelers are paying like a wide receiver one. Which I said he's a quality, an elite route wide receiver too. And I believe if George Pickett can become wide receiver one, Freiermuth steps up and to be Pickett's security blanket in the passing game, that will be for Deontay, matching up, having more favorable matchups with weaker corners, and converting third down. He's not a big play guy. Run after the game, but actions early when Trubisky was in there, when Pickens came in, elaborate, overreaction, emotional outburst on the field, showing up the crack, conferences in the locker room, passes, run backwards, all stuff. you need your veteran, most experienced receiver to leader for a young group of receivers. Well, it's any surprise that now George Pickens have little fits and emotional outbursts when the guy he's looking to is his mentor and example doing it all year. Well, that's why you have to be careful to put into a position of leadership in your receiving corps if it acts that way like Deontay Johnson is acting. You're going to see other guys play. And I think the Pickens yesterday, that was not professional, and it wasn't of a Steelers wide receiver. I think that, he's had a bad example, a bad mentor. Deontay Johnson is somebody in the mirror, but I don't think he's getting a true reflection he really is.
All right. I don't know if it's just my computer, but I had a little trouble hearing you, Shannon. So I'm going to have you pop off and come on back in if you don't mind. Tony, so Deontay Johnson is kind of frustrating to a lot of people right now. And what I got from what Shannon was saying, and I really like, and I wasn't thinking about the whole mentor thing. And I wasn't thinking about how, as a mentor to George Pickens, that's why that's happening. But do you think the attitude and the treatment that he got when he was going up for that contract has really affected Deontay Johnson, and he just can't get over it, and it's affecting his play on the field?
Yeah, I think he feels like he's a number one receiver. I think he's been so he's been so productive. I say, he's been number one receiver productive since he came in the league. I mean, he's been their main focus on offense in the passing game since 2019 overall. If you go back his entire 4-year career, so I think he's trying to prove to everybody that he's worth the money that they gave him, and I think it's affecting it how he goes about it. I mean, when you see him run routes, he's elite. He's elite at running pass routes and getting open and causing separation. And it's hard not to go to him because he seems like he's always open. And there was a graphic posted a few weeks ago that suggested he was the most open receiver in the NFL. But everything else that he does, after the catch, his ability to hold on to the ball, that's him right in the hands. He's not elite. He's below average. I mean, I think you can honestly say he's not great at running after the catch. He doesn't have great hands. So I think he's trying too hard to prove to everybody that he's a number one receiver. And I think it's affecting every area of his game other than his ability to get open. His ability to get open, again, is elite, but everything else has been subpar this year. And I think you're seeing that.
That's really interesting stuff. Now I want to address what Shannon said about George Pickens. George Pickens is a guy that feels like he has number one talent, and I think he does have number one talent. I really think he could be absolutely fantastic here. He's playing at home. He's playing in Georgia. There are so many people there for number 14, and he wanted to get the ball, and he did not get that. But the problem was, and they brought it up, James Lofton, I think, brought it up. There was not much room for him. He was not completely getting open. They went in to shut him down because it's just like this. Think about this. When the Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett, they knew all about Kenny Pickett because he was in their facility. The Atlanta Falcons know a lot about George Pickens, and they know exactly what he can do because he was becoming a legend in the state of Georgia for before the year that he got injured. So all I'm saying here is, this is just a situation where Mike Tomlin, if he is that player's coach that everybody thinks he is, says, hey, you're being relied on. It didn't happen in this game, but it's going to happen. Relax. Take a deep breath and figure it out, but don't let this affect your entire game. But one of the problems we have here in Pittsburgh is we are so gun shy now after the 2018 AB debacle. So with that, we feel like every wide receiver is definitely going to be a diva. And if they speak up, then it's going to blow up. Do you guys really see George Pickens as a diva that's going to just completely blow up? And I'm going to start with Tony on this.
I mean, not really. I mean, not at this point. I mean, to me, what you saw yesterday, I mean, that's commonplace with receivers. I mean, you know, they're competitive. You want to see somebody who's competitive and wants the ball. You want to see that even from a rookie. You know, I don't think that's a mark against him. You know, I just think it's he believes in his abilities, and you know, he feels like maybe he can make a difference in this offense, and an offense that's by and large has struggled in 2022. And he's clearly a fantastic prospect, and he has such great potential. And, you know, as so many have said, if it wasn't for the knee injury he suffered last year, he might have been the first receiver drafted in 2022. So I don't see that. You know, I go back to, if you're a fan of the America's Game series, the NFL network does, or the NFL network does, go back and watch the one about the 1979 team. And John Stallworth, who a lot of people know is one of the nicest guys ever. He played a pivotal role for them that year. And there was a game where he caught one pass, and Chuck Noll asked him after the game, "How'd you feel about the game?" And he said, "I'm pretty darn bleeped off, Chuck." He said, "Why? We won the game." "Yeah, I know, but I only had one catch." And Chuck Noll said, "Well, would you rather have a lot of stats, or would you rather win the game?" And he said, "I like to think we could do both." So even John Stallworth got mad when he wasn't included in the game plan. So that's just the competitive fire that these guys have, and I'm not that worried about George Pickens being upset. These things get blown out of proportion more nowadays, like you said, because of what happened with Antonio Brown. If it wasn't for Antonio Brown, I don't think we'd be as worried about it. It's just he's alarmed everybody because of what he did and how that ended here in Pittsburgh. But I'm not fazed at all by what happened with Pickens. That's pretty common in NFL circles.
Great answer, Tony. Shannon, do you think George Pickens GP is another AB?
No, I don't think so. I think that you know, the maturation process. He's 21 years old. He was like that. He never outgrew it. Mike Tomlin did a great job of you know, the throwing Gatorade coolers on the sides and a few like that. But I've seen more outbursts on the sidelines from receivers this year than I have in previous, because it's had a couple, and now, I mean, Claypool got really frustrated. Now we've seen Pickens do the same thing. I did used to say there's a time and there's a play, and sidelines on national television or on the field actually is not the time and place. So hope, you know, he will mature. Hopefully the Steelers will keep him involved than they did yesterday. But part of that's running a lot of routes at speed, and it's work to clean up work to be a runner. So he thinks he's open, he's really not. So maybe him and Pickett will do a better job of getting on the same page moving forward.
All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about who Kenny Pickett, who KP8 sees when he looks in the Man of Steel mirror. So we'll be back right after this on BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Welcome back to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. Alongside me is Tony Defeo, and Shannon White has just dropped out for a second to work on his audio problems. I mean, it happens this time of year with internet and wind. So I know Shannon's experiencing some weather as well. So he's going to go ahead and take a look at that. So in the meantime, Tony and I are going to talk while we await the return of our good buddy Shannon. So let's do this, Tony. Kenny Pickett and I definitely want to hear Shannon's opinion when he gets back from this. But Kenny Pickett is taking a lot of criticism right now. Now, it's very easy for us to say, and a lot of people are getting tired, well, he's a rookie. And let's try to do this without, well, he's a rookie. Because, I mean, I'm about to say that, and I get it, and we know that he's a rookie. We can make comparisons to Peyton Manning, even though Peyton Manning threw a lot of touchdown passes. But what's more important to you when we look at Kenny Pickett? Are we looking at the fact that he's making some smart decisions? He's calling Benny Snell's number on 3rd and goal for with a chance to go ahead and take the lead in a game on Monday Night Football. You feel that he's the leader and you're not worried about touchdown passes right now. You like more the no interceptions.
I just like the fact that he seems comfortable in his own skin, and he has all throughout his rookie season. He's obviously, I'm sure he's frustrated at times. You saw Sunday he missed the Pat Fryer move who was wide open, or at least he was open anyway. I don't think he was wide open, but he was open, and it would have been a touchdown early in the game. They had to set up for a field goal. So he is missing some throws here and there, but he's also making some fantastic throws, and he's making some great decisions. As you said, the audible to hand off to Benny Snell last week. Is that you were referring to the Colts game?
Yes.
That's a good veteran move. So that, I like that. I like the fact that he's starting to process the game. He's starting to see things as a veteran quarterback would. And, the other stuff I believe will come, and yeah, people are sick of hearing, he's only a rookie and they want better results, but he is only a rookie. And if you look at the big picture in NFL history, it's unusual for rookies, as we said many times, to come on the scene and take the NFL by storm. The NFL, like Myron Cope said, to reference Myron again, it's a tough football league. He said it that simply, and it's true. It's a tough league to master, especially for a quarterback, especially for a rookie quarterback. So, I like the fact that he never seems really like that high up after a win and that low after a loss. He seems like somebody who's very businesslike. He's setting a good example for these guys. Even though he's a rookie, he's still a rookie quarterback for a young team. They're young overall as a team, and they need somebody who's not gonna fly off the handle, not gonna pull a Zach Wilson and not take responsibility for a bad game or a bad performance. He's gonna put the responsibility on himself. So I like what I see from Kenny Pickett, and I think when he looks in the mirror, he sees somebody who still has a lot of work to do, but he's confident that he's going to be able to reach the level that they need him to reach.
The legendary Marky D is in the live chat under Steelers Nation Australia, and this is what he has to say. And now he's set off a firestorm for pizza. The bloke has improved each game. If people are unhappy with Kenny, they would be unhappy with a free pizza. I just love that. And now,
right.
Now just me likes pizza. Free's even better. And now we're talking about pizza. And now I'm hungry. Shannon
I haven't
White.
had any pizza since I turned 50.
What's that?
That's my favorite food, and I haven't had a slice of pizza since I turned 50. I'm really I can't look at that live chat.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I have been very good. I haven't had a slice of pizza since I turned 51. So,
Happy birthday.
It's been 2 days since I've had pizza, I think. So that's me. Yeah, that is me really trying to get just a shameless plug for a birthday that happened 2 days ago that I don't care for. I don't care about. I'm just joking. Shannon, let's talk about the haters. Let's talk about everybody right now that is on Kenny Pickett. But before we get into that, let me ask you a question. I think Tony's happy with his play right now. I think he's growing, and like you are going to say, as long as he's growing every single week, we should be happy with that. But I'm going to ask the question first. If he's playing like this in December of year 2, are we happy?
No, NFL quarterback have to be to improve, and you see him. If he's as manager, cautious. I mean, 4-0, no turns. Quarterbacks can say that. Steelers quarterbacks, rookie can say that. Well, the football doing needs to be done. So, I'm very satisfied with where we're right now. You know what? Where he's going to be Nick, hopefully it'll be still a quarterback. Pittsburgh Steelers. That'll mean he finished out strong and gave them reason to believe that he's the quarterback of the future.
All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about something that's going to be very sensitive to a lot of people. And it's this. Oh, Tony's getting excited when I say this. I am probably, I'm the one assembling people with torches and pitchforks to move Matt Canada out of town.
Ooh, geez.
I am.
I'm not ready for this.
And you know how I am. You know that when I'm wrong about something, I will come. This one thing that I pride myself on. I will come back and say, "All right, I was really wrong on this." But was there anything in that play calling yesterday, Tony, that made you feel that Matt Canada should not be the coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
He should be fired. Is that, or are you asking if he's improved? If I like what I saw,
rate his performance yesterday.
Well, I thought for the first time this year, even maybe the second time, going back to the Colts game, it felt like there was a plan. Like he was building plays off, and he was setting up plays off of other plays. And that's something we haven't seen really since he took over as OC in 2021. It felt like there was a rhythm, like there was continuity, like they were setting stuff up, which you didn't get that impression over the first 8 games. Now that could have been because the offensive line was still trying to get attack together. It may have been because they had Trubisky was struggling so much in the first few games, and then they put a rookie in, and he was trying to figure things out. But it felt like there was, for the first time this year, recently, it feels like the offense has a plan. So an actual game plan. So I would rate his performance really good. Now they had to settle for 4 field goals instead of touchdowns, which you wanted to see them finish off some of these drives and put a few more points on the board. So that's an area they certainly have to work on. But it feels to me like I said earlier in the show, that the offense is just ready to break through. And I mean, if we're going to criticize the guy for calling a horrible game, we have to give him credit for calling a good game. And I thought he called a good game yesterday.
Shannon, do you feel that he, not only being Matt Canada, called a good game, but do you feel like he's saving his job in Pittsburgh right
now? On the bye week, we thought he might, and I think on the bye week is when they took some of the responsibilities away from him. And I think that it's been a joint effort. I don't know if it's Stalin and Tomlin and who else involved, but some of the rest that they're doing is not consistent with Canada's offense past anywhere he's. I think that part of the reason why the Steelers are playing better on offense is because they've simplified the offense. They're playing more to the players, and they've taken some responsibility away from him. So I sort of given him credit.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, that's really interesting stuff. Jeffrey Benedict seems to feel that when you get the running game going, that works to Matt Canada's favor, that works to his scheme real well. And with the running game getting going, that's a big help. But that's one thing that I'm still seeing with Matt Canada. I'm not dropping the pitchfork right now, but I'm backing up a little bit. I would just say that. But one thing that I've noticed is, it's still a criticism. he's very good when he has the book and when everything's going to play. It's like in the movie Die Hard. Yes, a Christmas classic. You know, it's like in Die Hard when it says, here comes the FBI, and they're going through the playbook step by step. And when it goes off kilter, I don't think that's where Matt Canada's not an audible guy. Thank goodness you had Kenny Pickett to audible last week. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But as far as everything it goes, this team has been rushing well.
Right.
And as Ron Schultz says, we've rushed for 100 yards for the last 5 games. And that also plays into that actually helps Canada in his scheme. Tony, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, I think one of the biggest problems with this offense is they're not getting a lot of chunk plays, you know, so as a consequence, they have to, have 12, 13, 14 play drives to score touchdowns. And we saw yesterday, their one touchdown that they scored, it was set up by a Pat Fryermuth 57-yard catch and run. And that was the longest play of the year. So, as Dick LeBeau used to say, his philosophy was keep everything in front of you and tackle the catch. And his philosophy was, well, if an offense needs 12, 13, 14 plays to score, somewhere along the line, somebody's going to screw up. There's going to be a penalty. There's going to be a missed block, fumble, interception, whatever. And that's how you can snuff out a drive. And we saw yesterday there were some really, really promising drives that were compromised by penalties, by missed blocks, and that led to a few. Is you try to get George Pickens more involved, and because I think he's the one who can maybe do that better than anybody.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. But before we go, I need to make an impassioned plea. And I just mentioned the movie Die Hard, one of my all-time favorite movies, not my absolute favorite movie, but one of, I would say, top 2. And so I'm going to make an impassioned plea. But before I do that, my wife and kids got me a shirt. And so it is not officially Christmas season yet. But if I go ahead and bring this shirt up so everybody can see, it's not Christmas until Hans Gruber. Let's see. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Not Christmas.
There it is.
Hans Gruber. He's got a little Santa hat there. Falls from Nakatomi Plaza. But here's what I've got to talk about here. Die Hard is, like I said, probably number 2 for me. But number 1 of all time is a movie that does not get considered when we talk about the action thriller Christmas movie. And it really upsets me. I would like to make a plea for when we mention Die Hard as a Christmas movie, and some of you won't, but that you also include one of the greatest of all time from 1987, released on March 5th of that year, Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon to me is every bit a Christmas movie as Die Hard is. Enough said. If I had a mic, I'd be dropping. Any thoughts on that, Tony?
Well, I used to watch Lethal Weapon a lot back in the day, but I haven't seen it in years. As far as Die Hard, I've never seen it, so I really can't comment on it. But everybody says that Die Hard's a Christmas movie, so I have to go by the consensus, and so I'll just go with you and say it's a Christmas movie.
Wait, Tony, what the hell? Why have you never seen Die Hard?
I'm not a big Bruce Willis fan, I guess. I don't know. I just don't really get into his movies all that much, but I don't know. What can I say? I like Rush Hour and those kind of movies, which are similar. So, there's that anyway.
It's not really Bruce Willis. It's really funny about that movie. They were worried about Bruce Willis as the lead, that people wouldn't go see it. So they kept him off of the opening trailers and the posters at the beginning. Shannon, help me out with this. Convince Tony that he's got to watch this movie.
Die Hard's a classic. Anybody that loves action genre, will tell you that Die Hard is an awesome movie. So yeah, Tony definitely needs to see it.
All right. So I would be remiss. There's a few questions that have come up. Jennifer's asking, do you think Miles Jack is moving a little bit slower? Yeah, I think that he has some bumps and bruises on him, but I would not really throw him out with the bathwater right now. I think he's somebody that is really going to help with that team. We've got a lot of other Christmas movies in here that has been mentioned. A lot of people want to talk about the fact, and here's the news that came out today. Baker Mayfield, one of my least favorite players, got cut by Carolina. And Tony said this at the beginning, before we were on the show, and when we were discussing the show, he mentioned the fact that, hey, look, Carolina, they're trying to they trade all these guys for Sam Darnold. Then they trade all these guys for Baker Mayfield. They just cannot get it going. And so that's maybe the Steelers have a better quarterback situation than you would think that they would. Also, the fact that Tyler Huntley is it Tyler?
Yeah.
What's Huntley's first name? Will most likely be starting for the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. And there's a lot of people worried about that as well, and that's going to be an interesting one to see. Lamar Jackson is not completely out of the mix, but it almost seems like it's going to be Huntley, and then they just signed Brett Hundley, so they have Huntley, and now they have Hundley backing up Lamar. So it's going to be really interesting week. This is something that's going to really set up the rest of the season. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Hey, it's a Victory Monday. That's the most important thing. For Shannon White, for Tony Defeo, my name is Bryan Anthony Davis, and we want you to make sure that you check out Behind the Steel Curtain for all of your Pittsburgh Steelers needs. Anything you want, it's on the network. Make sure you go back and check out Bad Language from today. Make sure you check out Jeff Hartman. And Jeff Hartman had, well, I think is one of the great shows, Let's Ride, Winners and Losers. And we're also going to have tomorrow morning, you're going to have an opportunity to hear another From the Cutting Room Floor from Jeffrey Benedict. And we've got another episode of The Fix with Andrew and Jeremy as well. You can catch these guys later on in the week. Shannon White is going to have a very special episode along with Jeffrey Benedict. A former Baltimore Raven is going to be on Know Your Enemy. It is going to be former tight end Daniel Wilcox is going to be with the guys. Wow. So that's something to definitely check out, as well as we give the BTSC welcome to a Baltimore Raven. And remember, you know the rules. Anybody's allowed in our living room, just don't pee on our couch. So for Shannon and Tony, I'm Bad. And just when you think you have got all of those answers,
we keep changing the questions.
Shannon, take me home. Woo! Woo indeed. And that's hot times, Daddy.